These are private groups in every city where only women can join. The idea is that women take screenshots of a man's dating profile and ask other women in the same city if they are going out with the same man. They try to frame it as protecting women, but often it encourages toxic behavior like gossiping. Story 1. I was on it. It turns out they were not seeing the same person. That did not stop them from having a discussion about me in the comments. It was ridiculous. Story 2. Some women never stopped being mean girls. They say it is to protect women, but all I see is discussing men's secret fantasies, their genitalia, stalking them, and other forms of body shaming. I knew the groups were suspicious when the rules stated not to disagree with other women's comments. Creating an atmosphere where anyone can badmouth someone anonymously seems pretty sinister, even for the most jaded of us. Story 3. If they stuck to the remit of, "Are we seeing the same guy?" then I might not have a problem. Hey, so I just went on a date with Dave. That's my boyfriend of 2 years. No issue with that. Except they don't seem to be like that. They often seem to be hit pieces from jilted exes or people just looking to stir things up. The main issue is the assumption that all women who post will do so with good intentions. Basically, the women are wonderful effect. I'm all for women doing due diligence to protect themselves and men, but without any real oversight, it basically allows abusive women to continue the abuse post-relationship. And we don't need to have seen baby reindeer to understand what that can look like. Most men and women who have had a few relationships have probably been unfortunate enough to have a psycho ex or two. I know I have violence and everything. The idea that my future romantic life could be dictated by her without any right to reply is unpleasant, to say the least. Fortunately, mine was back in 2008 when this really wasn't a thing, but she tried things with my existing friends and absolutely would have in groups like that. The way it's framed when men have an issue with it is also a problem. So you don't care about women's safety. Well, here are some statistics that it's not about that, and how dare you suggest it is. It can and does make men who have already been victims of abuse further victimized. This sort of thing shouldn't be an either slash or between the safety of men and women. So many women have written testimonials about seeing their brothers or cousins get absolutely destroyed on those sites. And when they try to correct the story, they get hammered and mocked. Story 4. As a rule, I dislike when people take screenshots of strangers' dating profiles and use them as discussion material without blurring out the person's name or face. Story 5. I have a family member who ended a relationship and told all of us it was because she found her boyfriend in those groups, but she did not. I got angry at her ex for no reason when he showed up to family dinner. It turns out she wanted an excuse to see someone else during a break. That is my impression of those groups. Story 6. My ex used to use it. It is not even about dating the same man. It is literally just women posting every man they have bad interactions with and speaking negatively about them. Story 7. I was posted by an anonymous poster and had a couple of exes comment mostly nice things. That felt pretty good. Story 8. Someone once messaged me because she was feeling insecure after we went on a couple of dates. An ex responded to her and told her lies about me. Obviously, I think they are foolish because the information people share is at best rumors and at worst damaging and manipulative. It is a cesspool. Story 9. This is just the electronic equivalent of what they are already doing. I work mostly with women who spend their lunchtime discussing men they have dated, showing each other his profile and commenting on it. Story 10. I know the "if you reverse the genders" card gets overused, but if you reverse the genders and there were groups of hundreds of thousands of men posting dating profiles of other men to criticize them and discuss past experiences, there would be nationwide riots. Story 11. A tool is now available for women to cancel men for selfish reasons. For example, some women call all their ex-partners unpleasant names. These individuals now have another place where they are not held accountable for the potential social and emotional damage they cause. If they are going to cancel the man anyway, some might as well behave irresponsibly. Commitment is very discouraged these days. Story 12. It is always important to remember that you were the common factor in all your failed relationships. If you need to outsource like this to validate your own bad judgment, then that tells you everything you need to know about the type of people using these groups. They are completely toxic and usually lead to harassment by people who feel self-righteous enough to cyberstalk a stranger but not reasonable enough to do any critical thinking. Red flag. Avoid anyone who is in one of these groups. Story 13. I understand the purpose, but it is plagued by women whose goal is to embarrass, gossip about, and mistreat other people. Rather than protecting women, the groups create a number of cyberbullies. Story 14. I have seen many examples of these groups being used to further the culture of victimhood, from embellishments to outright lies. In short, I think they are garbage. Story 15. The topic was supposed to be about safety, but it can easily become toxic and awful. People have made exposing videos about some of those chats. They included body shaming, racism, sexism, and deeply personal gossip and slander. It is actually really disgusting. Story 16. I understand the motivation. However, it is an irredeemably creepy surveillance state with no right to due process or appeal. Story 17. I was on it. A married supervisor of mine found me there, no idea how, guessing his wife was on it. Apparently, some girl criticized me there after what she said was a bad date. Story 18. Women who do not understand that gossip damages people's lives are like men who do not realize that yelling is frightening. They are far too immature to be in your life. Story 19. 99% of the time, you are there to be character assassinated and slandered. It may surprise people to realize how many lies, slanders, and baseless assumptions about men circulate through those groups. You could be a normal-looking man and be randomly posted there by some woman you did not return a call to, and they will dox you, harm your career, and even label you a pedophile or sexual assault perpetrator with zero proof. The odds are, if you are posted there, it is by some very bitter women who gang up and attack you without even knowing you. Although there is less than a 5% chance that you are actually the bad person they want to portray and expose to those groups. Those Facebook groups are cesspools of hate, misery, and bitterness from very angry women looking for the devil everywhere they look. Story 20. The original concept had good intentions, but the actual utilization was less effective. Most women use these pages to ensure their date will not assault them, but many also use them to criticize ex-partners and men who were not interested. Story 21. It enrages me, and I can only pray that I do not date a woman who uses it, or at least date one with enough brain power not to fall into group fallacy and bias. Story 22. I am in one. It is mostly gossip and women posting pictures of men to criticize them in some way. There is no evidence, no proof, just, this man is bad. It is a nightmare. Story 23. Women who do this are toxic and abusive, committing a crime against the integrity of men. This behavior is harmful and deserves punishment. This is another negative consequence of feminism. Story 24. I'm in a few groups, and they are probably the most toxic I've seen online. There is zero accountability from women, and if you call someone out, you're labeled negatively. Many women will immediately post about their exes they just broke up with to discourage others from talking to them if they see them on the apps. If a girl posts a positive experience, everyone says the man is dishonest and warns to watch out for love bombing. Many women make fake profiles and follow each other to set up a man and see if he responds. I've seen some girls ask the group if anyone is in the area to spy on their partner at the gym or other places. Overall, the behavior in these groups is very unhealthy. Story 25. As a concept, I understand it. However, I think it allows many bad actors to freely create false stories about people they dislike. I believe it borders on libel or may even cross that line. Story 26. Put it to you this way. If men tried to create a private group like this but with women in their neighborhood, the group would be banned for violating community guidelines and some sexist behavior used as an excuse. If society wants gender equality, then we need to start treating women as harshly as we do men. Story 27. You will see women defending their existence as a means to avoid rapists and creeps. I think if you are prepared to accuse someone of that in a public place, they should not be allowed to post anonymously. The idea behind this is noble. The downstream results are anything but. Story 28. I am in one of those groups just to observe. It is so toxic. No wonder most of these women are single, and miserable. Story 29. I hope it leads to some self-awareness. A man at my work just lost his job. He was involved with every single female employee in his department, 20 women. I find it impossible to believe they were all unaware of the reality of the situation. Story 30. There is nothing wrong with dating multiple people, so I do not see the point. Until you actually get the label of boyfriend, girlfriend, exclusive, or partner, then be quiet. These groups tend to be very possessive and self-centered from what I have seen. Story 31. Any man who is desirable enough to join these groups, whether he is a scoundrel or not, will have a woman cross the picket line sooner or later. Story 32. Makes a lot of rational, kind, and well-meaning men avoid dating applications. All it takes is encountering one jaded, bitter woman and having one message misinterpreted, which could lead to serious consequences. That could impact your career and more. Men are not just giving up for no reason at all. Story 33. Completely ridiculous. Ask any of these girls how they would feel if 30 to 40 men were discussing them anonymously in a private social media group, even if the conversation was relatively positive. Every last one of them would be against it. It is like a scene from Mean Girls. Pretending it is to protect women or anything other than an excuse to gossip or drag men down because things did not end well in the distant past is ridiculous. It should not exist. Story 34. I think there are certain things a person can do, ways they express seeing or understanding the world, or values they demonstrate that would indicate to me they are not someone I would be compatible with. Being constantly online and willing to attack me online due to baseless suspicions would definitely be one example. Story 35. I ended up being posted in one of these groups after I broke up with my most recent ex, after finding out through her drunken rants and her own friends about her, let's say, activities when I was either working or otherwise busy. She obviously wasn't happy about the breakup or being called out on her extracurriculars and posted my photos saying we were still together. None of what she posted was accurate, nor was her account of the situation. I should also note that I ignored the massive red flag that she had shown me this group before and admitted that it was toxic and how women basically just shifted on men the whole time. Little did she know, I was surreptitiously able to get into said group after the fact and had other female friends also in the group. Less than an hour after she posted it, I received messages with screenshots from those friends letting me know. I sent her the evidence and she took it down pretty quickly. I understand the reason for these groups and the benefit they can provide. However, all too often they are used for petty reasons which devalue their overall stated objective. Also, ladies, these groups are not as private as you think. They are easily accessible, and your friends in these groups are often more than happy to report on you. Story 36. The Niagara group had an informant informing members about their assignments. When a woman found out, the men formed a group. She became very upset and tried to threaten them with legal action. Story 37. Great idea in theory, but many bad actors in reality. Disclaimer. The internet by nature cultivates more extreme personalities, so those groups are not indicative of what the average woman is like. Story 38. I think it is unwise. Part of being an adult is having the ability to use discernment. You do not need a group to properly do a background check on someone. Ask inquisitive questions, read between the lines, observe someone holistically, and take your time. I believe many women in those groups tend to have other issues that prevent them from making the best decisions. Story 39. Glad they do not do this type of behavior where I live, not in the United States. I once met a woman who told me I was talking to her cousin at the same time. Both thought it was funny. Story 40. I'm a woman and I was in one, but I had to leave. I found it to be incredibly toxic. Although it started with positive intentions, it has gotten very out of hand. I don't enjoy them. I don't think they should exist anymore. I don't think they are empowering or uplifting to women in any way. From talking to people, I have found that dating is hard for both genders. Unpleasant people exist in both genders. Being able to join a group, post anonymously, and try to get gossip about someone is incredibly strange and unfair. Story 41. The concept seems reasonable, but it is really just doxing. If men did this, it would be regarded as a direct threat to the safety and happiness of women. Story 42. They are all a bunch of liars on there. When I was single and dating, I heard girls saying things about me that were not true. They made themselves feel better, I am sure. One woman said she left me at a restaurant. That was just not true. I asked her to leave. They are scum for sure. They do not get their way, throw a fit, and tell lies. Story 43. On the one hand, it protects women from harmful men. On the other hand, it can be used to damage an innocent man's character without proof. Story 44. They are dreadful. It is not about hating men. It is about misandry. A female friend was abused and blocked in one instance because she defended a man she knew. The other woman was lying, and my friend called her out. Story 45. I am 36 years old and don't know if I have ever been on it. However, I do reasonably well, so I assume not. My take. Women give each other terrible dating advice. The logic, if that word even applies, is this: if I am a miserable, insufferable, permanently single woman, I will make sure that other women are too. Story 46. The fact that anyone can make a claim about someone without providing any verification of its validity, and face no consequences if they are lying, should raise alarm. Story 47. Always consider something gender exclusive as excluding the opposite gender. If men created this group, women would protest and report it to the authorities, even to protect a friend. It is good but very suspicious and risky regardless, as they are announcing to the public who they are dating. That usually attracts disruptive individuals of all genders who interfere and damage the relationship. Story 48. The ex who showed me these groups was also the same ex who filed a false police allegation against me while we were on holiday in a foreign country. Following this, I quickly understood the kind of insecure mentality a woman must have to use these groups. Story 49. I don't mind. Gossip and chat all you want. Conceptually, I think it's fairly sound. Dating applications give people the opportunity to see several individuals at once during the initial stages and possibly throughout the entire duration. If you are framing a relationship in a monogamous sense, one might not be so happy to find out you are with several others simultaneously. Story 50. I created a fake account to gain access to my local group because I wanted to know what was going on there. The content is about 20% helpful tips and 80% gossip or criticism. I sent friends their profiles and most were happy with how they ranked. Story 51. Great source of comedy. Just a group of bitter women broadcasting how bad they are at choosing men. I have been on my city's forum for 4 to 5 years, and I have seen exactly one post from a man. It turned into a bunch of "I can fix her" memes, which was hilarious. Story 52. I found out that the woman who ended up assaulting me posted my photo to one of these pages the day we started talking, asking if anyone knew of any red flags about me. Maybe men need a "Is this woman crazy?" Facebook page. Story 53. A few days after I downloaded the applications, my ex posted about me on one of those Facebook pages where people warn others about past relationships. It happened about 8 months after our breakup. I understand the purpose of these pages, calling out genuinely harmful behavior like abuse or racism, which can help protect others. However, I also think things can sometimes be taken out of context or shared without the full story. In my case, my ex focused on the day we broke up and called me emotionally unavailable. Fortunately, many women commented that it just sounded like a breakup and not something that belonged on that type of page. A friend of mine also commented in my defense, and shortly after, the post was deleted, likely because my ex saw it was not being received the way she expected. I understand the intention behind these pages, but they can sometimes misrepresent situations when context is missing. Story 54. You do not want to date them anyway. Nasty, entitled, vindictive, narcissistic women deserve each other. Story 55. I like the idea, but it is too open to exploitation. You just know there is going to be some toxic ex, some woman with a crush or vendetta, or just some bitter women who want to mess with people. Story 56. These groups are city-based. This means that whenever a man is posted there, his name, location, and likeness are available for anyone to access. With artificial intelligence now able to generate photorealistic images based on a single image, scammers can use this information to steal that man's identity, causing havoc for the rest of his life. All those photo certifications requiring specific poses, easily generated. His elderly parents or grandparents wanting proof that it is him before sending money to bail him out of jail. 5 photos and a video ready to go. A photo of his driver's license for verification, cross-checked with publicly available address information and submitted. Not to mention that his information is now available, without his knowledge, to any stalkers or abusers who may be trying to track him down. He will not even know his information has been given to them because women are prohibited from informing the man that he was posted. All because some woman online was insecure. Women claim these groups are about safety, but they do not care about our safety. It does not matter if all the comments were positive when his identity is stolen or abusive former partners show up in his life. This does not even get into what happens when a former partner, angry about a breakup, starts telling lies about him. Story 57. A female friend told me I was on it, in a relationship now, but my partner said she read what was there when we were early in dating. She was willing to show me the thread, and I found one woman who accused me of being unreliable. The conversation just petered out. I didn't stand her up or anything. There was a second woman who said I was bad, but she was just an acquaintance whom I was never romantically interested in and had rebuffed her advances. I think the idea is valid in terms of promoting safety, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. From what I can tell, it involves dragging guys or smearing reputations without anything beyond taking people at their word. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Story 58. I do not see it as inherently bad, but I understand how some people might use it in bad faith to spread rumors or seek revenge on someone they had a falling out with. I have no idea what the ratio of good faith versus bad faith users in those types of groups might be. Toxic people will be toxic whenever given the opportunity. There is no way to really stop that. Story 59. Not only do they ask if anyone else is dating him, but they often post a picture and ask if anyone else dated him in the past and to provide reviews. Story 60. I don't like the groups. I don't like that the person discussed does not get the opportunity to state their side of the story regarding rumors. Story 61. It is childish. If you do not trust your partner or potential partner to the point that you have to upload them to the internet in groups without their permission, just end the relationship. Story 62. They are pretty vile and disgusting places from what I have seen. Just free-for-all character assassinations and similar behavior. Also, the original poster's username. Story 63. A friend of mine used his photos to deceive women. He is extremely good-looking. The police have become involved primarily due to harassment against him, the victim, rather than the scammers. Last I checked, he probably had the most restraining orders in the country, numbering in the hundreds. Story 64. It should be shut down. They would not like it if we did the same thing. Such double standards. This is why I do not participate in online dating and similar activities. I would advise everyone to simply avoid the dating game and remove yourself from the pool. It is the best decision in my experience. Story 65. Just your everyday casual misandry. I imagine it is mostly to trash talk men with very little validity or evidence. Story 66. These groups spread false stories, cult mentality, and hatred toward men due to their own insecurities. Do not associate with anyone who is involved with these groups. Story 67. I can understand the idea behind it to a degree. However, it attracts mean girls who would be enraged if roles were reversed. Posting someone's picture in an online group with personal information, even just the city they live in, without consent is a red flag. They know this because they would be horrified to see themselves in the same situation and would justifiably be upset. The group acts as an echo chamber protecting women while endangering men. At that point, it is all a vanity project. Story 68. A friend of mine was accused of being a pedophile because he got into a fight with his ex-girlfriend. He mentioned he prefers younger women in their early 20s. She decided to publicly accuse him in online groups, claiming he likes minors. In reality, he meant he prefers women in their early 20s. The situation has escalated and affected his work, and he is now considering legal action. Story 69. It is a group of women upset that they were used and discarded by the men everyone keeps warning them about repeatedly. It will not matter. They will continue to fall for it even when they are aware. Story 70. It helps if you have female friends. One posted anonymously asking if anyone knew anything about me. Other friends used it as an opportunity to say positive things about me. I did not find out about it until after the fact. Friend 1 did not coordinate with friends 2 through 4. It was nice hearing about it. It was brought to my attention by a woman I was flirting with on a dating application. Your experience may be different. Story 71. I know the if you reverse the genders card gets overused, but if you reverse the genders and there were groups of hundreds of thousands of men posting the dating profiles of other men to criticize them and discuss past experiences, there would be nationwide riots. Story 72. I am a woman, and I am on one in my city. I joined to see if my best friend's boyfriend would pop up. You are right. There is a lot of unnecessary bullying. Some girls post asking about guys, and girls respond with things like, he does not like condoms, or tried asking for money on the second date. I find that information useful to keep women safe. However, there is a lot of bullying of guys based on how they look, which is not good. Story 73. I have a female friend in her 40s who is dating right now. She was seeing a guy who was nice enough. They were having sex, and in the middle of it, he pulled off the condom saying he couldn't feel anything. Then he came inside her. He was very apologetic and she was upset. He swore he wouldn't do it again. She stopped seeing him after that. She is in one of those groups. She saw a post about the exact same scenario and then saw in the comments that 3 other women had experienced the same thing with him. More followed after. It was the same man. Really, stop and picture the dating world women navigate. One in which a casual hookup might result in a man whose entire plan the entire time was to pull off his condom or finish inside her. I scrolled through and did not see a single post from any men addressing why women feel the need to join such a group. Just a bunch of complaining about how awful women are without any thought to why such a thing might have come about. I am not saying it is good. I am not saying that there are not women on there who are spiteful, childish, and mean. But before we get to the fallout, let's start with, why does this exist in the first place? If you do not have an answer to that question, or if your answer is because double standards are unfair, then stop and actually listen to some of the stories that get posted. Story 74. I do not have any experience with these groups, but here is a fun anecdote. My wife's best friend, who was the maid of honor at our wedding, became her best friend after they randomly met and discovered they were dating the same man. Story 75. Liars and false positives. However, I really think men should form similar groups as soon as possible and do exactly the things they do. Story 76. I have seen a lot of bitterness and lying directed at them. It is basically a way for women to use social shame to try to control male sexuality. Story 77. Being polyamorous, I have found those groups helpful. I have seen posts about me, where one woman may ask, met this guy on Bumble. Is he really polyamorous? Others reply, yes, and he is a great guy. If you are doing things respectfully, those groups will not negatively impact you in any way. They will only help. Story 78. You cannot stop women from gossiping about men. Most of them fail the Bechdel test in their real lives. Story 79. As long as it does not devolve into toxicity. If it does, at least I have a way to identify whom to avoid. Story 80. I would take that any day rather than groups of men sharing photos of their partners, mothers, sisters, and underage girls. Story 81. This is why you should not date women who use social media. It's a red flag. The more social media, the higher the risk. Think about that. Some women are involved with so many men that they use a reference directory to figure out where the overlaps are. These are the women who say they had 3 boyfriends. But later you find out that their number of partners is much higher because all the garage band members they were with at parties or contractors they were with during jobs don't count. Story 82. I'm prepared to be downvoted into oblivion, but here it goes. Those groups serve a purpose. They are not there for gossip. They are there to warn other women about men they are seeing or have seen for being a cheater, an abuser, or a predator. It's a group for girls to look out for one another. Story 83. I don't know what that is. Honestly, I didn't even know people still used Facebook. As such, I am going to say my feelings are, sounds like a problem for the terminally online. Story 84. You would think that they would be labeled as related to safety if that is what they were about. Instead, they are labeled as anti-infidelity, which is actually not criminal for good reason. Story 85. I mean, as a man, I hate it, but then I remember the words of a man who really looked out for women, Louis C.K., and he is right. Men are the worst thing for women. Now, they do not pose nearly the same threat, but I would not hate are we seeing the same girl groups either. Story 86. Not a man, but once was at a weekly girls' night when two of the girls discovered they had been dating the same man in a very small town for over a year. They got in the car together, both went and ended the relationships, then returned to girls' night to drink, victorious. Story 87. I'm in one of these groups with over 200,000 members, and here is a pretty accurate breakdown of the typical posts. 30%. A vague post with just some initials, an age, and maybe a blurry photo asking if there are any updates or red flags. It is usually someone they have not even met yet, just matched with on the dating applications. 30%. I went through my partner's phone. Should I go through my partner's phone? Relationship exposés or co-parenting drama. 20%. A picture of someone's boyfriend or husband with, I think he is cheating. Has anyone seen him on the dating applications or in their direct messages? 10%. I found an earring, eyelash, or sock in my boyfriend's car. Does this belong to one of you? 5%. Anger-fueled declarations about swearing off all men forever, followed by plans to go to a random bar with friends. 5%. Genuinely helpful information about safety, spotting scams, or how to handle suspicious situations. I am just here for the entertainment. Story 88. The only time I have heard of them before was when someone tried to sue them. Story 89. I would have to question her choices in past partners if this is a concern. Personally, I do not care about the existence of these groups. Story 90. Provided the groups are moderated, I think they can be very useful in keeping women safe. I am a man. I know for sure I have been posted on the Australian group when I was on the apps. A few female friends informed me and also posted supportive comments. I am also aware of a situation where a woman I know started messaging a dangerous individual who abused his ex-partner, so that woman avoided a potentially very dangerous situation. Story 91. I have always believed that if you are not doing anything wrong or unwise, then you have nothing to worry about. This does not mean that someone might not post false information about you. But if you are honest and transparent in everything, people will eventually see the truth. Also, part of being wise is staying alert and avoiding engagement with such individuals in the first place, although nothing is ever certain. Story 92. I have viewed one of these groups, and it does seem to protect women if well moderated, especially regarding comments on appearance. Of course, men do not want women they date to know they are married, but that does not mean the group should not exist. Story 93. I have seen some men get exposed for beating their previous girlfriends or cheating, so I think it is worth having those groups around. Story 94. Do you know the concept of a cock blocker? It is a woman, generally unattractive, but not always, who actively disrupts the attention of men trying to get to know her female friends. This is only a behavioral example of how envious women can be of their female friends. Another sociological example. Prostitutes have repeatedly attempted to create groups in which they write client reviews. It never works because they start writing bad reviews about good customers to gain exclusivity and prevent other women from accepting them. Story 95. Just another opportunity to get your name out there and attract someone. There is no such thing as bad publicity. Story 96. I'm in one of those groups. I'm mostly there to observe, except for when I posted about my ex who had just gotten out of prison for another assault and battery charge at the felony level because this time there were witnesses of him attacking and choking a woman at a party. Aside from that, I've seen multiple cases where a woman asks if there is any danger. A female friend supports her male friend who wants to find a nice lady, and the comments are filled with good luck and congratulations for their first date. However, for every kind man posted before a first date, there are many other posts about men who have caused serious harm to the women unfortunate enough to encounter them. Also, few men say they know someone who has sexually assaulted someone, yet nearly every woman I know has been sexually assaulted. Men say they want to protect us, and, if they are honest with themselves, they know it will most likely be from other men. Story 97. When I was dating, I never ended my relationship with my current partner until I had another. There were times when I was dating more than one woman at the same time. If we were not exclusive, then possibly several. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.